Discover the hidden Israelite ancestry of some of the most powerful nations on earth. Watch as Scripture unveils the terrifying future of America and Great Britain as revealed through the sabbatical and Jubilee years. Discover the identity of Assyria and its role in this final Jubilee cycle. Learn of the pending judgments that are to be soon poured out as a result of transgressing the sabbatical years. Sighted Moon.
So let's get started. Who are the lost 10 tribes? Now, some of this may be old news to some of you. Some of it may be new news. But the reason, and this is the first three chapters of my next book. And I had to put it in there because of a serious discussion, and that's putting it as politely as I can, with a couple of Messianic leaders that claimed that they were two house. And I thought two house was like Judah and Ephraim, or Judah and Joseph. Well, their two houses just Judah. Judah and the other Jews. And I couldn't figure that out. I didn't understand it. So we had a pretty lively discussion about that and a whole bunch of other things. So after that, the stuff that I assumed everyone understood, I had to go back and demonstrate and prove it so that they can understand it. Like I said, I have to prove it so that you can't you can't get your butt off the wall once I've nailed it to the wall. So we're going to answer these questions: where they went and what they are called today. One of the great questions everyone asks is, we know that Gog is Russia and Magog is Russia or China, whichever one you want to pick. And they're mentioned in the Bible. But they're not the greatest nation on earth. The United States is. Britain is. And where are they? So right away the horns go up. He's talking about British Israelism and the Worldwide Church of God and Armstrong Evans, because he come out of the Worldwide Church of God. Okay. Have you ever checked it out? So someone's branded it and made it ugly looking. See, because I was also told that this book is bad for you and it's going to teach you bad things. Don't ever look at it. And if I'd believed that, I'd have never opened it. But in 1994, I left the Worldwide Church of God. They were becoming Catholic. And I had to prove everything once again. And I proved everything with the British Encyclopedia Britannica. But at that time, the computer was just starting to come on stream. We didn't have all this information at your fingertips at the click of a mouse. So that was, you guys are so blessed to be able to have that today. You don't realize how much work there was involved going through an encyclopedia, tracing things name by name by name, which is what I did. I've searched my family tree. I've traced it all the way back to 892 AD, by name. 892. 1300 in Scotland, 892 in France, 1400 in England, Ireland back to 1500. I've done all that, name by name. And I know what the names mean. And I know where my family comes from. And I know who I am. Everyone goes around, there's that lost generation looking for themselves. I grew up in that lost generation looking for themselves. All right? They're smoking pot, doing all this other stuff, trying to find themselves. So anyway, I'm getting off in a rabbit trail. I got to stick to my notes if I'm going to stay on time, right? Yeah, tell me, point to me. Okay, so this is the boring part. We're just old news to you, but you need to understand it because I'm going to ask questions as we're going. If this is happening, this is the promise to Israel, where is that in the world? Israel became a nation at the Exodus in 1379 BC. Uh-oh. Okay, that's in the prophecy of Abraham. That's by doing that chronology of the sabbatical and jubilee cycles. It's there. Prove it wrong. Prove it wrong. If you can. But you can't because I've done the work. Yes, I'm being arrogant. I'm challenging you. I want to make you mad so that you go and do it. to shut me up if you can. Because I love you. Okay? Because I care about you. 1379, the Exodus took place. It was 42 years later, in 1337, that they crossed the Jordan and came into the promised land. The land of Israel was promised to the descendants of Abraham in 1809 BC, when Jehovah made the covenant with Abraham. And this is what some people say that promised land was. So when did that ever happen? Well, it didn't. This is King David's empire, 1010 BC. King David's empire spanned the world, as I mentioned yesterday. We find evidence of Hebrew writing all over the place. What's the name for iron in Hebrew? Anyone know? Hang on. Anyone else? Glenn. Barzil. B-Z-L. Guess what country is called Barzil? What? Oh, I thought you said Israel. Yeah, Brazil. Brazil. Why? Because it's the iron capital of the world to this day. And King David named it because of the iron that was taken there. Northern Michigan, I mentioned this yesterday, right? They took the copper. They took that copper out of Northern Michigan to make the temple. And that copper is still in King David's tomb beneath the temple where the temple used to be. And I've seen the entrance to it. But I'm not telling anybody where that is. At the death of Solomon, 930 BC, the United Empire split between the king of Israel and the king of Judah. Now, most people have a brain cramp about this time and think that everyone is a Jew. That's an Israelite. That's like saying everyone in the United States is a Tennessean. All Tennesseans are Americans, but not all Americans are Tennesseans. You understand that? All Jews are Israelites, but not all Israelites are Jews. The 10 northern tribes are 10 northern tribes, and they were called Israel. Judah was called Judah. They were not called Israel after this separation. Why? Because the blessing of the name of Israel went to the tribe of Joseph. You need to understand that if you want to understand prophecy, because too many people are blind and say all Israelites are Jews. No. All the Israelites are in Judah, in the state of Israel today. No. Israel and Judah went to war against each other. So you guys can read some of this as I'm talking. I'm just going to glance and just carry on. We're going to try and make up some time. Okay? So we got two distinct people that are mentioned in your Bible, and they go to war against each other. Israel fought against Judah. Judah fought against Israel. It's in your Bible. They are not the same people, but they are the same people. Understand that. They are, like Tennesseans are Americans, but Americans aren't Tennesseans. Not all of them. So here's the 10 tribes. This is the way they're laid out, and that's the magnitude of their empires before they went into captivity. So in Genesis 15:4, and see the word of Jehovah came to him, saying, this one is not your heir, talking about Ishmael, but he who comes from your own body is your heir. And he brought him outside and said, look now forward toward the heavens and count the stars, if you are able to count them. And said to him, so are your seeds. I'm even having a hard time reading that on my screen. Genesis 12:2. And I shall make you a great nation, and bless you, and make your name great, and shall be a blessing. And I shall bless those who bless you, and curse him who curses you, and in you all the clans of the earth shall be blessed. So this Manasseh tribe in northern India is more numerable than all the stars in heaven, right? No. Those tribes that they're finding in China are more numerable than all of heaven. No. Remember these blessings that are to come to Israel. In Genesis 15, verse 16, then in the 4th generation they shall return here, for the crookedness of the Amorites is not yet complete. What does that mean? Everyone looks at that and says that's the 4th generation from Abraham, and that's when they come back out of the Exodus to the Promised Land. Yes, sort of, kind of. Remember the date I said for Abraham? Abraham was born in 1948, after the creation of Adam. So the creation of Adam starts with the year 1 on the far side. That's the first Jubilee cycle, which is 49 years. And then you count by 49 each one. So the first millennial day is 20 Jubilee cycles. 20 times 49. So a millennial day, Steve, you were asking me about this last night, and then we got sidetracked. A millennial day is 980 years. Uh-oh. They've rounded it up, folks. The second millennial day is 1960. The third millennial day is 2940. When was Abraham born? 1948. So he's at the beginning of the third millennial day. So now count 4 millennial days from there. So you count the orange as 1, because it's at the beginning, so you count all of it. The red one is 2. The fifth one, or the blue column is 3. And at the end of the 4th millennial day is the purple one. You see the date down there? 5880. 5880 matches our date of 2045. Now this is in the prophecy of Abraham. It's there. I compare them back to 4 so you can see both calendars together. 5880 is 2045. That means that right now we are in the year 5849. 5849. Where's 5849 in here? Right near the end of this 4th day from Abraham. Do you see that? If you don't see it, it's in the prophecies of Abraham. We don't have any prophecies of Abraham here to give away or sell. You can get them on my website and order them. But this is in that book. And that's why it's there, to show you that the 4th day from Abraham, the 4th millennial day, is right where we are now when we are about to go back to the land. But we're not going back the way many people are teaching you. And I'm going to show that to you this week. Genesis 17, verse 5. And no longer is your name called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, because I shall make you a father of many nations. Not one, many nations. How many states of Israel are there? How many Israelite nations are there? 13 plus more. 13 is 13 tribes of Israel. And some of those Israelite tribes have developed other tribes. And we're going to show you that. And I shall establish my covenant. There's that covenant again. The covenant keeps coming up all through this teaching all week long. Between me and you and your seed after you in their generations for an everlasting covenant to be Elohim to you and your seed after you. And I shall give to you and your seed after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, and an everlasting possession, and I shall be their Elohim. A great nation, multiple nations. Where is that if it's the Jews? Okay, the state of Israel and the state of New York. Doesn't fly, folks. Doesn't fly. Genesis 25, here's another blessing. Now Abram gave all that he had to Isaac. But to the sons of the concubines whom Abram had, Abram gave gifts while he was still living and sent them away from his son Isaac, sorry, my Hebrew's bad, eastward towards the land of the east. Isaac inherited everything. What I'm going to show you today is that there are tribes named Isaac. In history, in your Encyclopedia Britannica. All you got to do is open it up and look at it. All you got to do is hit Google Because this information's there. Now, let your seed possess the gate of their enemies. So the Manasseh tribe possesses the gate of their enemies, right? Judah possesses the gate of all their enemies. No, not even Judah does this. Here's a gate. This is called Gibraltar. A gate is a passageway from one side to another that is a narrow entrance way that is controlled by an army. Who controls Gibraltar? Britain. Who wants it? Spain. But Britain's not giving it up. Genesis 26, verse 3. Sojourn in this land, and I shall be with you and bless you, for I give all these lands to you and your seed. And I shall establish the oath. What is the oath? It's the covenant. What is the Feast of Weeks? It's the Feast of Oath. And because we broke that oath, we're going to pay a dear price. It comes up over and over and over. And I'm going to be a broken record to you, and you're going to be so sick and tired of me telling you this, but by the end you'll know, I hope. And I shall increase your seed like the stars of the heavens, and I shall give all these lands to your seed, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. So he's talking to Isaac now. Because Abram obeyed my voice. And remember what I said yesterday? Guarded my charge. Guarded my Sabbaths, my commands, my laws, and my Torah. When you guard something, you protect it. You don't let people trample all over it. Nobody comes to my house and does business on Shabbat. People try to sell me windows on Shabbat. Every Shabbat. So we don't answer the phone no more. Guard the Sabbath. Make it a part of your way of life. Genesis 26:60. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, so Rebekah is now going to be Jacob's wife. Let our sister become the mother of thousands of 10,000s, and let your seed possess the gates of those who hate them. So there's that possession of the gates again. Interesting, it's come up again. Now here's something that I find that most people read over and don't quite get, but this is such an important clue to who you are. Genesis 25:22, and within her, this is Tamar. Within her, the children struggled together, and she said, if all is right, why am I this way? So she went and asked Jehovah, and Jehovah said to her, 2 nations are within your womb. 2 nations. Who's this? Tamar. 2 nations are within your womb. And 2 peoples shall be separated from your body. And one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. This is Tamar. What's going on here? Is it? Good. I'm glad you're paying attention. That was a test. Thank you, Rebecca. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, so they called his name Esau. I've actually got the wrong slide up here. And afterward his brother came out. That's the right slide. So his name was called Jacob. And you all know the story. Esau comes in looking for he's starving after going hunting, and he wants food. And Jacob, being the good Jew boy that he is, sells it to him. Jacob wasn't Jewish, folks. There were no Jews alive at this time. So stop the bigotry and the anti-Semitic statements that come out of people's mouths. Correct them. That's not right. Jacob wasn't Jewish. But you know this story. So he sells it. He sold his birthright for that. Now notice also that Esau was a hunter. Because that's another clue. Jeremiah says, I will send you fishers to fish you out. Yeshua says, I'll make you fishers of men. But Jeremiah also says, afterwards, I'm going to send hunters to hunt you out of the clefts and rocks that you're hiding in. Who's he talking about? He's talking about Esau. That's why I talked about the Muslim thing today. They're coming. And they're going to hunt you out of the rocks and caves that you're hiding in. So now Jacob does a little double cross on his old man, and he fools him to get the birthright blessing. But the birthright blessing was already given to Rebekah, so he didn't have to do this. But he did. So here we have the blessings. 27, Genesis 27. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brothers. So who's his brother? Esau. And your mother's son bow down to you. Cursed be those who cursing you, and blessed be those blessing you. The birthright belonging naturally to the firstborn son. To attain this blessing from his father, Jacob resorted to tricking the blind-aged Isaac into believing he was Esau. So we know that. But Esau also gets a blessing. Genesis 27:37. Isaac answered Esau, see, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and wine. And what then shall I do for you, my son? Isaac talking to Esau. Now listen carefully. And Isaac his father answered and said to him, see, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth. They got all the oil. And of the dew of the heavens from above. And by your sword you are to live. And serve your brother. And it shall be when you grow restless. What's on the nightly news, folks? When you grow restless, that you shall break his yoke from your neck. Esau is getting restless right now. It's called the Arab Spring. It's still going on. It's going on in Syria. This stuff is happening right now. And you're all going, I don't know about you, but the ones I see, wake up. Wake up. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and commanded him and said to him, do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram. That's where I have my vineyard right now. That's so cool. To the houses of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife for yourself from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. And Jehovah bless you and Genesis 28:3. And Jehovah bless you and make you bear fruit and increase you, and you it shall become an assembly of peoples. What's an assembly of peoples? A commonwealth. A commonwealth. Where's that in the world? Where's the Commonwealth of China? Where's the Commonwealth of Russia? Where's the Commonwealth of India? The only Commonwealth I know of is Britain, of which Canada, one of the greatest nations on earth, is a part of which Australia, one of the second greatest nations on earth, is a part of. And New Zealand, no one here from New Zealand, is one of the last greatest nations on earth, of which the United States and all those rebellious Yanks are also a part of, because the Loyalists stayed with England after the war. And we're going to show you where you got your name from. So Jacob goes out to get his wife, and he falls asleep, and he has a dream, and he sees this ladder going up to heaven, and he sees the angels coming back and forth, and Jehovah tells him these promises again. You can read that in Genesis 28. But he takes that stone, and he anoints that stone. And you'll read about this stone throughout your Bible. The pillar stone that all the kings of Israel had to be anointed on. And Jacob set it up. It's a column in Elohim's house. This is a stone in Jehovah's temple. I am the El of Bethel, where you anointed the standing column. See, even Jehovah took notice of this column. This is a very special column. Here's Bethel. See it in relation to Jerusalem. And Genesis 35, verse 1, and Elohim said to Jacob, Arise, go up from Bethel, and dwell there, and make an altar there to El, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau your brother. And Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, Put away the foreign mighty ones that are among you. Who had them? Rebecca. Or Rachel. Rachel. I'm getting my women all mixed up today. That's okay, it's early. I'm allowed to be dopey too. And let us arise and go up from Bethel, and let me make there an altar to El. We're looking for that altar right now. We found one at the two mountains, the mountains of blessings and cursings. I was on the wrong mountain last year. So they put away all their idols, and they kept on going. Let's see. So here we read of that pillar again in 2 Kings 11. And he brought out the son of sovereign and put him on the diamond, put on him the diamonds and the witness, and they set him up to reign and anointed him, and they clapped their hands and said, Let the king live. Long live the king. You say that every time you elect a president. No, you don't. We do. Long live the queen. We say that in Canada. Because it's a tradition that started right here in 2 Kings. And Athaliah, that wicked woman that I told you about yesterday, those 4 people that were removed, blotted out, Athaliah heard the noise of the runners of the people, and she came to the people into the house of the Lord, the house of Jehovah, and looked and saw the sovereign standing by the column, by that stone that Jacob had slept on. There it is, right there. That's where they anointed the king. 2 Kings 23:1, and the king sent, and they gathered to him all the elders of Judah and all of Jerusalem. And the king went up to the house of Jehovah, and all the men of Judah and all the people of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets and all the people. This is a big deal, what's going on here, from the small even to the great. And he read all the words of the book of the covenant. Oh, there's the covenant again. Which was found in the house of Jehovah, so that they could hear it in their ears. And the king stood by the pillar, the column, the same stone that Jacob slept on, and made his covenant before Jehovah. They made the covenant before the stone again. What is the stone that Jacob had? Where is it today? That stone was just taken from England back to Scotland. That's what these people are doing here. It's a big deal in Scotland. How many of you are Scotch? See, I wouldn't admit it too much because they're pretty dang stubborn. How many of you are Irish? Oh, so that takes care of the Scottish people. How many of you are English? How many of you are Newfie? We win. Newfoundlanders, for all you guys that don't know what a Newfie is. We're the funny people from the far eastern coast of Canada. This rock is important in Scotland. And they say this rock came from that column. And it's got broken half. Now there's 2 of them. And if that rock ain't underneath the throne of the queen or the king when he's anointed, they aren't the king or queen. There it is. There's the rock under the throne of King James that all the kings and queens have been sitting on since that time. The Liaphale does not translate as big stone, and it is Gaelic. And Steve and I were talking about Gaelic last night. It's called the Stone of Destiny, Jacob's Pillar. And there's a myth that goes with it, that it would cry out beneath the king who took the sovereignty of Ireland. There's another myth, that a red-headed freckled boy will come by and the stone will cry out. That's an Irish myth. What's that mean? What's that got to do? Well, didn't Yeshua say when he's walking up to the temple to shut those guys up? Don't let them call you the Hosanna. He said if they don't do it, the stones will do it. What's he talking about? He's talking about the stones. Here's Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth, and you can call her Her Majesty too, because this is your queen, the line of King David. You don't believe me yet? I'm not even started. I got off on a little rabbit trail when I was doing my notes, and I just had to keep going here. Here's a memorial. This is in Ireland, where they first brought the stone. Guess what part of Ireland? What's the part of Ireland always in trouble? The Northern Irish. But that's where the stone is. Why? Oh. It's in Tara. Tara is in Northern Ireland. Okay, I got to chew my tongue off here and stay to my notes because I don't want to get too far ahead. Otherwise, I can be done in 5 minutes and you still won't believe. I got to present you the proofs. I got to prove it to you. Genesis 35, verse 10. And Elam said to him, your name is Jacob. Your name is no longer called Jacob, but Israel. Israel is your name. So he called his name Israel. And this is where we get the name Israel to this day. And you all know this is old news. But Jacob had 12 sons. Under Leah, he had Reuben, Levi, Judah, Simeon, Issachar, Zebulun, and Daniel. And the numbers there are the order they were born in. Okay? With Zilpah, he had Gad and Asher. With Rachel, he had Joseph and Benjamin. With Bilhah, he had Dan and Naphtali. And these are the 12 tribes. And these 4 women are different, and they got different genes, and that's why the children there look a little bit different, but also look the same. I like looking at a garden that has lots of different flowers instead of all one bunch. But one bunch is also beautiful too. And that's what Jehovah is doing. He's mixing up his children to look beautiful in all different shapes and sizes. 1 Chronicles 5:1. As for the sons of Reuben, okay, so you know the story of Reuben. He profaned his father's bed. Who are the Reubenites? They're the French. Why are they French? Because they're Reubenites. What is the thing about Reuben? He has this hormone that wants to get into bed with his stepmom. But his stepmom is a lot younger. So he's about the same age as Reuben. Now we call that the French romantic thing. Everything French is romantic. Je parle français, je suis romantique aussi, no? No. That's a trait. It's a national trait. So because of that, Reuben lost a birthright. So the name of Israel never went to Reuben. And you see that in Reuben today. Reuben is unstable as water. That's his symbol. We're going to get to that a little bit later. He's unstable as water. What happened during the 1800s? Reuben, the firstborn, took over almost all of North America. What's that, the Louisiana Treaty? Is that what happened? What? Louisiana Purchase. How much did you guys pay for that? Yeah, not too much. It was in Canadian funds. Okay, so Reuben had this land. You all could be speaking French right now. Some of you got French names. Mr. Côté, Monsieur Dumont, that's c'est moi. When the French come down, they came down the Mississippi, and my ancestors were one of the first ones down the Mississippi River. It's recorded in our history books in Canada. That's awesome. They seen this land in its prime. Then the Americans took over and wrecked it. Little shots. Okay? Genesis 48:15. This is another blessing. This is a blessing of Jacob on his 12 sons, but now he does something different. The firstborn of Joseph was supposed to be blessed with the right hand. But Jacob, he's old, he's senile, and he goes, right? You've read the story. But this is very significant because it's also prophetic, but Jacob did it on purpose. the younger one is going to be greater than the older one. And the younger one is going to get the blessing, but the older one is also going to get the blessing. Read this. What's he talking about? Who's he talking about? You, the American people, came out of Britain, the older one. You came out of us, and you are greater than us. And you are us. And I say us as in British, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. And we have people from, except New Zealand here today. Amazing. So this blessing is very significant. And Joseph got upset and tried to stop it. What did Jacob say? But Joseph thought it was evil. Jacob says in the next verse, but his father refused and said, I know my son, I know. He also becomes a people, and he also is great. And yet his younger brother is greater than he, and his seed has become the completeness of nations. And he blessed him on that day, saying, in you Israel shall bless, saying, he will make you as Ephraim and as Manasseh. Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. What did he just do? He just passed the name of Israel on to Ephraim. The name Israel is not the state of Israel. It's not Jewish. It's Ephraim. Do you get that? Do you understand that? Do you see the thing? Because they've named the state of Israel, but they've robbed you of your name and confused you and all this stuff that everyone's trying to tell you about. That's confusing. Keep it simple. Go back. It's very simple. Follow the line. One step at a time. Lego blocks. Right? Remember I told you how to count to 7? Get your 7-year-old kid to show you. Lego blocks, one on top of the other. While the spirit of prophecy was still upon Jacob, he called all his sons together to tell them what their posterity should become, when? In the last days. Today. The last days. Among other prophetic utterances, of which we shall speak later, this is me talking, I thought I was reading the scripture, was the following concerning Judah and the scepter. The scepter shall not depart from Judah. So we're going to cover that more now. Nor a lawgiver from between his feet. So now Judah goes around telling me in Israel, you got to obey me because I'm Judah the lawgiver. But I'm not keeping Torah exactly the way it says, but I got authority to change that. And they use this verse. Okay, I'm going off in a rabbit trail. I'll stop right now. That's not right. You keep the Torah the way it says to keep it. Don't let any man tell you to change it and do it some other way. Not me, not your father, not your brother, no one. It says how to keep the Torah, and all you got to do is read it. It's simple. And Jacob called his sons and said, gather together so that I declare to you what shall befall you in the last days. Gather together and hear, you sons of Jacob, and listen to Israel your father. Now, we're going to be talking, I'm not sure where I'm going yet, but we're going to be talking about some heraldry later today, and I want you to pay attention to these symbols. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my power, and the beginning of my... So imagine you talking to your own son. And the beginning of my strength, the excellency. So this is what the French do. We think we're pretty good. We should have power because we're French. In Quebec, we have French laws, so you can't speak English or any other language in the province of Quebec. Why? Because we're French, and we're the best, and we're the French. That's what the French, I love the French, that's my ancestry. The excellency of exaltation and the excellency of power. And this is a symbol for Reuben. In Messianic circles too. Reuben's two symbols are man and water. The primary symbols. Boiling like water. So this is what Jacob's now saying to him. Boiling like water, you do not excel because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. What does boiling like water? What's that unstable mean? If you look at the French government, how many parliaments have they had? How many constitutions have they had? Lots. Unstable as water. They keep mixing things up because they can't fix it and say, that's it, that's the way it's going to be. No, we're going to change the next election. And we're going to have that next election in 2 years instead of 4 or 5 or 6. That's the French. So, here's the next one. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Their weapons are implements of violence. Let my being not enter their council. Let my esteem not be united to their assembly, because they slew a man in their displeasure, and they lamed an ox in pleasure. Cursed be their displeasure, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. And I divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. Wow. How many of you are Simeonites? No volunteers. How many of you are Levites? Oh man. Okay, let me ask you this. How many of you know your family crest? Got one? Oh, we got a few hands. Okay. How many of you have in that family crest from Scotland, Ireland, England, a sword on it? Oh, there's a Levite. There's a Simeonite back there. This is you, brother. Man, I wish I hadn't put my hand up. But Simeon had a great nation. And you all know the history of that. Let me tell you who some of them are. The Trojans. The Trojans. Some of the best military men in the world are Simeonites. We need Simeonites in almost every nation because they are our military strength. That's what they're good at. See, I'm good at organizing stuff. That's what I do at work, to bring things. I'm not good at doing everything individually. I bring lots of people in that they can do it. We have our talents, and these are God-given talents that we've inherited. Simeon is military. Levi is military. Why? Because they slew Shechem. Remember that story? This is where this comes from. But they did it because he raped their sister. So it's kind of like a righteous justice. Simeon, Levi, here's their secondary symbol. How many of you guys that didn't put up your hand have this symbol in your family crest? A castle. No? That's a great phone call. Okay, for you guys who can't hear this on the video, somebody's phone is sounding like the trumpet blast, and we all just stopped and listened. And awesome. And now someone's leaving with a real red face. I got to get that on my phone, but I still got a flip phone. Here's another symbol for Levi. A castle. And you'll see that on family crests all over the place, because Levi and Simeon are scattered amongst the 12 tribes. How many of you got a lion on your family crest? This is a symbol for Judah. And you see that in Israel today, the Lion of Judah. Right? And you, Judah, your brothers praise you. Now count, pay attention here, count. Your brothers praise you. Your hand is on their neck, is on the neck of your enemies. Your father's children bow down to you, before you. Judah is a lion's cub. And the prey you have gone up. From the prey you have gone up, my son. He bowed down and he crouched like a lion, and a lion who does not rouse him. The scepter shall not turn aside from Yehudah, nor a lawgiver from beneath his feet until Shiloh comes. And to him is the obedience of peoples. Binding his donkey to the vine and the donkey's colt to the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine and his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine and his teeth whiter than milk. Here's a clue. How many times do they say lion? Or 3 times. That's why they got 3 lions on there. Right? That's a symbol. That's a symbol for Judah. You ever see these symbols anywhere? Yeah? No? Yeah? Yeah? Come on. Yeah? They're everywhere. Not just in Judah. Who said England? Right. Zebulun dwells in the seashores. He is for a haven for ships, and his brother is unto Zion. And that's his symbol. So now we're going to get into some of the lesser brothers. That the symbols are a little bit harder to identify and put your thumb on it. But this is what people are coming up with. Issachar is a strong donkey lying down between 2 burdens, and he saw that a resting place was good and that the land was pleasant, and he inclined his shoulder to bear the burden and became a subject to slave labor. Now, that's a strange blessing. But this is, you're not looking at a person now, you're looking at nations. What nations are doing this? Finland. Finland. Hey, we got a Finn back there. Did I tell you who Zebulun was? I didn't mention that. Any Dutch here? No Dutch? Come on, there's got to be Dutch people here. Wooden shoes, wooden head, wouldn't listen. Ah, there's one. All right, she recognized herself. But that describes all of Israel. Stubborn, stiff-necked. All of you. All of us. Zebulun is Holland. They push back the sea. They suck the choice minerals out of the sea floor. Dan. Dan's symbol, what's that symbol look like to you? Dan rightly rules his people as one of the tribes of Israel. So what's Dan? He's a judge. What does Daniel mean? Judge? Does it not mean judge in Hebrew? Dan is a serpent by the way, an adder by the path that bites the horse's heel so that his rider falls backward. And guess what? One of the other symbols for Dan is a white horse. Who are the Irish? This is your symbol. The eagle. Dan. Who are Danish? Danish is Dan. Because Dan named everything after their father Dan. Everywhere you find a Dan, the Danube, the Dnieper, the Neisse, is Dan, Denmark. They're Dan. Gad, a riding band raids him, but he raids its heels. Now there's a weird blessing. Any Swiss? No Swiss? They suspect this is Switzerland. Bread from Asher is rich, and he gives delicacies of a sovereign. So here's the national trait for Asher. This is Belgium. Belgium. It's a cup that you serve to the king. Naphtali. I like Naphtali. You're going to laugh here in a minute. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He gives words of elegance. So he speaks wise words. What's a deer let loose? Naphtali breeds with anything that moves. You find the remnants of Naphtali all over the place. Northern India. You know where the caste system comes from in northern India? Or India? You got the blacks, you got the browns, and you got the light scudder. And they call this religion that they keep Abram. It comes from Abraham. It's been perverted after the years, but that's what they do. Why? Because the Naphtalites mixed in with the northern India's people. Naphtali also went over to China. I'm getting ahead of myself. But then they moved up to Norway and Sweden. The equality of the sexes in Sweden took hold long before many other countries experienced the same trend. The incidence of premarital sex exceeds 90%, and divorce is granted on almost any grounds. Much pornography comes out of Sweden. And when I told you about Eastern Turkey and the Muslim people looking at blonde women dancing around singing, they see Swedes. Benjamin is a wolf that tears in the morning and eats prey, and at night he divides the spoil. Who has a wolf as their symbol in your family tree? Okay, the Australians come from England, right? They were the prisoners that they didn't want in England, so they shipped them all to Australia as prisoners, and they let them go down there. England was invaded by the Vikings. The Viking symbol is a wolf. A lot of the Vikings are Benjamites. Here we go. Joseph is an offshoot of a fruit-bearing tree, an offshoot of a fruit-bearing tree by a fountain. His branch run over the wall. And pay attention to this one, because this is going to come back later. And the archers have bitterly grieved him, shot at him and hated him. What are archers? What are modern day archers? Missiles. So what's a bow? The missile launcher. Who's Joseph? I'm saying it's you and me. His two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Joseph is going to be grieved by missiles. Do you see that right here? Read it again. And the archers have bitterly grieved him, shot at him, and they just love Americans all around the world. No. The only place that you guys might be loved is Canada, because everywhere around the world, you're hated. Sorry to tell you that, but you are. You are the great Satan. The little Satan is Israel, your brother, Judah. Why is that only those two countries are hated in the world? Because you're related. And this is what I'm trying to show you. These things are related, you're related, and that's why you're hated. Yeah, maybe some of your government policies are kind of, oh, okay, Joe, they pack heat here, shut up. Verse 24, but his bow remained in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. And there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. From El of your father who helps you, and by the Almighty who blesses you, and blesses you of the heavens above, blessings of the deep that lies beneath, blessings of the beast and of the womb, of the breast and of the womb. The blessings of your father have excelled the blessings of my ancestors, up to the limit of their everlasting hills. They are on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who is separated from his brothers. This is a great blessing that we have been given. And there's the symbols for Joseph. A bull and a unicorn. How can a mythical symbol of a unicorn become a symbol? Because the unicorns all missed the boat with Noah, so they shouldn't even know about them in this day. But if you look in your old King James, the unicorn's mentioned there many times, and when you look it up, it's a prophecy. Where do you see the unicorn today in your family crest? Standing on one side of the shield of England. On the other side of the shield of England is the lion. Now notice something about, well, we'll get that in a minute. I'm jumping ahead, but just pay attention. But there's also the bull. What's the nickname for England? John Bull. That same symbol of John Bull is called Uncle Sam. Same symbol. Go figure. They're brothers. Joseph is an offshoot of a fruit-bearing tree. Oh, I just read that. Here's the other symbols for Joseph. You recognize those symbols? See, I've got sheaves of wheat in my family. This is Manasseh. The arrows, where do you guys see the arrows? I don't know, we're in the States. Yeah, James doesn't know, he wouldn't know that symbol. I don't know, maybe. Where do you guys see the olive leaf and the branches and the olives? 13 olives, 13 leaves, 13 arrows. It's your crest. Here's the symbol for another symbol for Levi. Do you have that in your family crest? There's the unicorn. There's the lion. That's the symbol for England. Notice that the unicorn is chained to the ground. Why? Because the unicorn went into captivity and never come back. The unicorn represents Israel. The lion represents Judah, and the crown is on the lion. There is no crown on the unicorn. These are symbols that you see every day when you go out and look, and you don't have to look very far. They're part of your family tree. This is heraldry. Heraldry is the most regulated regulated. I can't think of the other word. You can't just pick your own symbols. You got to have them passed down to you. And then if you want a different one, it's added in specifically. Notice the crest in the middle. Remember the 3 lions? There's 3 lions there in the 2 diagonal corners. And then there's another lion standing up. Who has that symbol of the lion standing up, the red lion standing up? That's Scotland. I thought we had some Scots here. Oh, that's me. You forgot who you were. Look at your symbol there, the red lion. The 3 lions is the royal line, Judah, England. But they also got the harp. Where'd the harp come from? King David. What nation has a harp? Ireland. That's their national flag. King David came to Ireland. What? I thought they were just a little bunch of people, never got off the map, never moved out to Israel. No, he had an empire that circumnavigated the world. He came to Ireland. He visited Ireland. They loved him. They made the harp their symbol after him. And there's so much more to that. See the red poppy down here? What's that a symbol of? What's the national symbol for the state of Israel? What's the national flower? You name your daughters after it. And I can't think of it off the top of my head. I just forgot it. Say what? Help me out. The Rose of Sharon? Yeah, I think that's it. I got it in my notes. We'll see if I come across it. We got 13 bars. We got 13 olive leaves. We got 13 arrows. Why do we have the Star of David above the eagle's head? Do you see the Star of David there? In the stars. But something even more incredible. The Star of David, the stars are inside a Shekinah, the cloud that covered the mercy seat. How do we get that symbol here for the United States, a bunch of Yanks that rebelled against the King of England? The 13 colonies. Why did you have 13 colonies? Jehovah's trying to show you something on an ongoing basis. You're part of the 13 tribes of Israel. How did we get 13? What happened? Oh, yeah. Joseph was changed to Manasseh and Ephraim, and they became Jacob's sons. So instead of 12, there's 13. Right? It's not just Judah. 13 stripes, 13 founding states, 13. Unlucky number 13. No, it's 8. It's a very blessed number. Okay, here's the Royal Coat of Arms for Scotland. I got to read this because I really want you to learn this. When I found this was wow. In the book of Revelation, and referring to himself, Yeshua says, I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. The significance of this is that Alpha and Omega are the first and the last letters of the alphabet of the Greek language in which the New Covenant, New Testament was written. And by using them as a name for himself, Yeshua is emphasizing his identity with the one eternal and everlasting Jehovah, the first and the last of all things. Because we're talking about something that's right there in front of your face, and you don't see it. I'm jumping up and down because this is so cool, and you don't see it. These two letters in the Hebrew alphabet are the Aleph and the Tav. Okay, you know that. You guys are all pretty good at Hebrew. I'm not. And in the original Hebrew, the alphabet the original Hebrew alphabet, the Aleph appears as a diagonal cross as an X, such as the white X in the blue flag over top of the unicorn. And the Tav is an upright cross, such as the red cross over top of the lion. Thus, when combined as a symbol to express the idea of eternal Jehovah, they would appear like the cross on Britain's shield and the flags of Britain. They're also on the Celtic and Israelite flags of northern Spain and the Union Jack. In Or Torah, which is the name of a book, O-R Torah, by Rabbi Dov Ber, B-E-R, the Maggid of Mizraich, he explained first words of Torah, Bereshit bara Elohim et. Okay, I'm very bad at Hebrew, so please forgive me. Genesis 1:1. In Hebrew, Bereshit bara Elohim et. Note that the et, E-T, is an untranslatable word used to indicate that a definite direct object is next. Bereshit bara Elohim et. Thus, there needs to be an et before the heavens and the earth. But Dov Ber, the author of this book, points out that et is spelled, listen carefully, the et is spelled Aleph Tav, an abbreviation of Aleph Bet. Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Since Jehovah did this before creating the heavens and the earth, the letters are considered to be the primordial building blocks of the creation, of all creation. The Aleph is the X being held by the unicorn of Israel, and the Tav is the cross being held by the Lion of Judah. And this is the symbols of the Union Jack of Great Britain. It's right there, who you are. And these symbols of the Union Jack in Britain and Great Britain and the Lion of Judah are everywhere in England. A covenant people. In Isaiah 49, a prophecy for the end times, Jehovah God said, "Listen to me, you islands." Hold it. Listen to me, you islands. Who's he talking about? He's talking about the land of Israel. Hear this, you distant nations. Who's he talking to? Israel. Isaiah 49:1. This is a message to the scattered nations of the northern kingdom of Israel. Jehovah is saying to them, "In the time of my favor I will answer you, and in the day of salvation I will help you. I will keep you and I will make you to be a covenant for the people." There's that covenant again. To restore the land and to reassign its desolate inheritances. Who said, whoa? Did you get that? The covenant of the people to restore the land. That's what you're being called to do. In the Hebrew for the word covenant is, and I got it over top there, is berith. In Judges 8:33 and 9:4, it is used as a proper name, Baal Berith. This means Baal of the covenant. The Hebrew for man is Ish. And if we take the Hebrew word, which means covenant, and the anglicized you come up with the Brit-ish people. People of the covenant. Deny these things. You don't have to believe me. Many people don't want to believe. They call it British Israelism. It's not. That's just putting in a box so you don't have to look at it. Look at it. Prove these things wrong. British Israelism, what it actually is a saying that we are superior to everyone else. That is wrong. Remember what I said yesterday? If you are grafted in or native born, it makes no difference. You are an Israelite. But you're not better than everyone else, because he chose the least to make him into the greatest, to show how great he is. The least. Abraham was the least of all nations, not the greatest. The people of Wales call themselves, in ancient Welsh, Brith e Brithan, which means birth of Britain. This means the Covenanters of the land of the covenant. The earliest settlers in Wales and southern England were similarly the descendants of the tribe of Simeon. Are you all aware that if you speak perfect Hebrew, or even if you speak poor Hebrew, you can go to Wales and speak Hebrew and not need an interpreter to speak Welsh? That's the same as speaking, well, Canadian and Texan. Actually, it's more like speaking British England, London, England, or one of the suburbs of London, that type of English, and your English, and I can't understand a word that they're saying, but it's English. Or the Bronx, or speaking Australian and South African, that we have people here, try and listen to them. They don't speak English, they speak Aussie. They're even sitting together. We need an interpreter to understand them. What it is, and I'm only kidding, what it is an accent. You know, if I want to speak French, I start to practice my French and English and put the accents wherever the French words would be, and after a while, je parle français, n'est pas très difficile. Yeah. So, it's the accents that makes the difference, where you put the emphasis. So you can speak Hebrew in Wales. And we have a list of words in Wales that match the words in Hebrew and mean the exact same thing. I got goosebumps again. Like, why are we not told this in school? Why is our history only stopped when it comes to the Celtic people? Because I traced my family tree by name to those dates, and then I traced them by tribe to the Celtic tribes. I went right back to when the Celtic tribes came to Britain. And I know where many of the Celtic tribes are. But there's a wall there. They don't want to tell you where the Celtic tribes come from, because the Celtic tribes come from the east. So let's stop this line. We're going to stop right here now, and we're going to continue down another thread. We're going to rethink our brains, and I want to show you something else. Because now we're going to go to Numbers. Numbers in your Bible. And the numbers in your Bible are going to show you things that you haven't seen before. Here's the Shekinah at the tabernacle in the wilderness. Here's the Shekinah on your national crest, your presidential seal. Right? It's right there. No, we can't see that. No, that don't count. That's that Israel, British Islam thing, or that Armstrong thing, right? No, we don't count that. Here's another picture of it. Numbers 10. Numbers 10, verse 13. Thus they departed the first time according to the command of Jehovah by the hand of Moses. And the banner. Do a word study on the word banner. Do another word study on the word ensign. How many military people are here? How many? What's a banner? What's your ensign? It's the crest of your platoon. It's the crest of whatever division you're in. Okay? What we're going to read here now in Numbers is the crest or the ensign or the banner or the flag, because it's all the same word, over each of the tribes. Thus they departed for the first time according to the command of Jehovah by the hand of Moses. And the banner of the camp of the children of Yehudah departed first according to their divisions. And so you know that they departed in a certain order. And we're going to speed this up a little bit because you know this. They departed in a certain order, but the first was Judah. No, you don't get it. Oh, I got to read it again. And the banner of the camp of the children of Israel departed, of Jehovah departed first according to the divisions, and over their army was, no, I missed a verse. Skip wrong verse. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. And the banner of the camp, the first to go, was the children of Judah. What? No. Who's the first one back in the land? Judah. The lion. Oh, good. Light bulb's going on. Okay. You can read the rest of Numbers 10. The camp was set up in a specific order. Each camp had a banner. Each flag was representing the tribe. And the head of that tribe were the four symbols, the four leading tribes. Judah, Ephraim, Dan, Reuben. The four corners, the four stations around the camp, around the tabernacle. And what are those four symbols look like? The eagle, the lion, the bull, and the man. Guess what? Guess what? This is a cherub. You read about this in Ezekiel. This is what the cherub looks like. Why? Why? They're always associated with the holiness of Jehovah. When Adam sinned, cherubim were stationed at the entrance to the Garden of Eden to guard the way of the tree of life. They represented the righteous government. They represent the righteous government of Jehovah, and are the executors of Jehovah's righteousness and his holy judgment. The cherub are revealed in Ezekiel in chapters 1, 5 through 10 as four living creatures, each one having four different faces: the face of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. Now these aren't exactly pictured right, but this is the best picture I could get. So they're quite not quite in the right order. Now expand that out, and here's the camp of Israel. The camp of Israel was set up with the main or leading tribes as head banners, or the head flag, the leading heraldic. You know what, when I say heraldic, you know what I mean. Heraldry, the crest, the emblems. These are the main emblems for each tribe. Notice that they resemble the cherub. Here they are again. Now they're broken down because each tribe was a head of three tribes on each section, all around the tabernacle. And then you had the Levites around the tabernacle to protect that area so nobody walked in there. And anyone that walked in there, whether animal, beast, or child, was to be shot. Pretty severe. Numbers 2:2, the children of Israel are to camp, each by his own banner, each by his own flag, each by his own ensign, beside the sign of his father's house. Let them camp around the tent of meeting at a distance. And on the east side, towards sunrise, those of the banner of the camp of Yehuda camp according to their divisions. And the leader of the children of Yehuda, Nashon's son, and his army with their registered ones, 74,000. So we can, there's a lot of things. But each camp is designed this way. And this is the way they were to move each time. And guess what? Their nations now are designed similar. Judah's in the east. Right? It's kind of amazing. So now we got to stop that. I'm just, I gave you a little taste there. I got to stop now. I got to go someplace else. Because before the Exodus, something took place. We have other migrations to learn about. We have Moses, who came and took the people out of Israel. But before Moses came, there were other Exodus. And you read in the Chumash, however you say it, that 30 years before the Exodus, Ephraim tried to leave on their own because they calculated the 430 years to be 400 years. And they left 30 years early, and they got slaughtered by the Philistines on the northern highway into the promised land. Why did Moses take the southern route? Because the northern route everyone was so afraid of taking because they got killed there before. Just 30 years before. Utterly slaughtered. And Ephraim was devastated. Read that in the footnotes of your Chumash. Now, who is Danis and Cadmus? Again, open up your encyclopedia. It says, Encyclopedia Britannica, do not believe the British Israelism, do not believe Armstrongism. Prove this yourself in your own encyclopedia because it's right there. Don't believe me, I'm just Canadian. We already know everything. You guys just haven't figured it out yet. Now the Egyptians say that also after these events, what events is that? The plagues of Exodus. A great number of colonies were spread from Egypt, so I'm taking this right out of the Encyclopedia Britannica. A great number of colonies were spread from Egypt all over the inhabited world. They say also that those who set forth with Danis, D-A-N, Danis, D-A-N-A-U-S, Danis, D-A-N, Dan, Danish, likewise from Egypt, settled what is practically the oldest city of Greece. Argos, Toronto Argonauts, Argos. You've heard of Argos? Look up your ancient Greek history. And that the nations of Colchi, C-O-L-C-H-I, in Pontus, and that of the Jews, which lies between Arabia and Syria, were founded as colonies by certain immigrants from their country. So here's an Egyptian record in your Encyclopedia Britannica comparing the people of Argos and other colonies in Greece and comparing to the same Jews that settled in the Eastern Mediterranean. They're the same people, but they're using different names for them, and then people go astray and get lost. And this is the reason why it is a long-established institution among these peoples to circumcise their male children. But that's done away according to the New Testament. That's why these people circumcise their children, because it's a custom that they were taught by Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all 12 sons taught their sons. That's why Ishmael teaches their sons to do it. Circumcise their male children, the custom having been brought over from Egypt. They were captivity in Egypt. This is where we're talking from. This is before Moses got there. And we've got a great story here to tell. Even the Athenians, they say, are colonists from Sais in Egypt. This is the history of Diodorus of Sicily by G.H. Oldfather, Volume 1, Books 1 to 2, 1 to 34, pages 1 to 34, 1933, page 91. I'm not making this up. It's right there in your history books. Hecataeus, therefore, tells us, so this is another historian, that the Egyptians, formerly being troubled by calamities, what's that about? The Exodus, in order that the divine wrath might be averted, expelled all aliens. See, they're trying to cover up that Moses actually took them all out. So we gave them authority to go. No, Moses took them. This is the Exodus. Expelled all aliens, gathered all aliens to gathered all. See, I had trouble doing this on the video. It's only one line, and I couldn't say it. It took me 30 takes. Expelled all aliens gathered together in Egypt. Of these, some under the leaders of Danis and Cadmus migrated into Greece, others into other regions, a greater part into Syria. Syria is what they call Israel today, meaning Palestine. Oh, there's the note there. Their leader is said to have been Moses, a man renowned for wisdom. Who's saying this? Hecataeus, an ancient historian. Hecataeus. H-E-C-A-T-E-U-S. Look him up. Another author, Mueller, in his work Fragmenta Historicorum Graecorum, which is in Latin, also relates these events as recorded by the pen of Hecataeus Abder. So this is in the 6th century that this is being recorded. That's not British Israelism. This is 6th century. The calamities referred to here are obviously the plagues which Jehovah God brought. Okay, we know that. So here's what most people just skip right over. 2nd Chronicles or 1st Chronicles is a boring book. Just names and places and births, and it's the most fascinating book in the Bible. Oh, the whole Bible's fascinating, but this is one of those, well, if you're talking about that subject, it's one of the most fascinating subjects. Here's the sons of Zerah. Who's Zerah? See, when I got mixed up before, it was Tamar. Tamar dressed herself up as a prostitute and attracted Judah to have sex with her. Am I allowed to say sex? Okay. Because Judah did not give Tamar his sons after Tamar's husband died. The children came out. One put out his hand. That was Zerah. Then he pulled his hand back in, But before he did, the midwife tied a thread around his hand, pulled his hand back in, and out pops Phares. And she said, what happened here? How did that happen? Right? You know the story. So out pops Phares, and Phares is a line that goes all the way down to King David to Zedekiah, the last king of the Phares line. So, the question I ask you, is God a liar? King David shall not lack a king to sit upon his throne. Where's the king? Where's the king of Judah right now? It's not in the state of Israel, but they're thinking of trying to make one. That's going to turn out really, really bad if they do. Zerah stuck out his hand, tied a thread around it, and that symbol of Zerah, I can't tell you yet. But Zerah had 5 boys. Zimri, Ethan, Herman, Galcol. Remember, we've already talked about Galcol and Dara. Galcol and Dara are the ones that left Egypt. So there's a scripture there. You can read that. King Solomon in 1 Kings 4:30. I never noticed this before. Well, I've noticed it when I was doing the notes, but Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of the children of the east country and all the wisdom of Egypt. Solomon was the wisest man that ever lived. 1 Kings 4:31. For he was wiser than all the men, than Ethan the Israelite, and Haman, and Galcol, and Darda, the sons of Mahol, and his fame was in all nations round about. Why did Solomon have to say he was wiser than these 5 men here? Because these men were full of wisdom and understood prophecy and understood things, and they were brilliant. And they developed all these other nations that came out of there. So here's another list of names. Okay, and we got to pay attention to these names if you want to understand who's who. And his descendants were called Zerahites and Ezrahites and Ezrahites. They have different names, different spellings. Numbers 26:20, 1 Kings 4:31, 1 Chronicles 27:81, and 1 Chronicles 27:11. They all have different spellings for the same name. And it's these names that are passed down through generations. The migrations out of Egypt led Danis and Cadmus and Exodus. So stop here. Stop. What's going on? Why are they leaving? Are they trying to fulfill the commandment that 430 years after you're going to leave? No. Ephraim did that and he got slaughtered. But this was before that. What's going on here? We read in the Bible that Joseph says to his brothers, do not fear. I'm not going to kill you. Right? And I'm going to probably come up to that in a minute, but I got it out of order here, so now I'm guessing what the scripture, I don't know what the scripture is. The rumor going around the camp is that as soon as Joseph dies, our sons are going to slaughter you and your sons for having caused Joseph all this pain and suffering that he went through when he was thrown into captivity and sold in Egypt. So rather than take the chance, because that rumor is starting to sound true, we're going to get up and leave. So Galcol goes first. Darda goes next. And then Joseph says, do not fear, for what you meant for evil, Jehovah meant for good. And that's the end of it. That's why it happened. And guess what? That history, according to the Sabbatical Jubilee chronology, fits the Encyclopedia Britannica history as to when these countries were first founded in Egypt. To the year. No fudging, no fixing, no adjusting. They got it right in the Encyclopedia Britannica, and it matches the Sabbatical and Jubilee cycles to a T. The migrations out of Egypt led by Danis and Cadmus and Exodus under Moses are not the only ones recorded. Another important Grecian colony was founded by Cecrops, who became the first legendary king of Attica. Cecrops, as we shall see, was an Israelite. And according to the Harmsworth Encyclopedia, not Joe Dumont, the Harmsworth Encyclopedia, C. Crops, Galcol of 1 Chronicles 2:6, and Chacol of 1 Kings 4:31, and his brother Darda, was the mythical founder of Athens and its first king. He was thought to have been the leader of a band of Hebrew colonists from Egypt. Whoa! The encyclopedia says that? It's right there. So these descendants are called Zarhites. Z-A-R-H-I-T-E-S. Just like my descendants will be called Dumanites. And yours will be called whatever you are. Israelites. Did these bands of Israel refugees stay in Greece and Asia Minor? Or did they migrate further to distant lands across the sea? So now we're going to start to follow these names, because now that we know what they were called when they left Egypt, we can now follow them through history, because history records them. But the thing you just didn't know is what they were called. So we've got the Israelites over here and their symbols that we've already got. Now we're going to follow the Greek people, and then, I don't know if I'm going to come back and do the Israelite ones through Europe. So according to Euripides and the Greek geographer and historian Strabo, these are where the people of Danis and Galcol lived. And these are what they called themselves. The Dani, the Peleosigiote, the Peleoponeas, I can't say these names, Argos, Argives, and Achaia. These are all Israelite tribes. And they're in Greece. Which brings up an interesting prophecy or comment in the New Testament. When I forget who said it, but we were talking about Yeshua, and he says he's going to go where you can't find me. And they're saying, where's he going? Is he going to go to the Greeks? Why didn't they say, is he going to go to the Babylonians? Because the Greeks were their brothers, and they knew it because they had letters from the Greeks, from Athens to Jerusalem. And Eli, remember Eli, the big fat guy in Judges? He wrote back to them and said, yeah, you are our brothers. They got this records. Why aren't we taught this? Danis, Darda, Dara, Dardanelles, Dardanelles. Where are the Dardanelles? Okay, I forgot. You guys are Americans. You don't know anything outside your borders. Canada's to the north. Mexico's to the south. Those are the ones you let in real quick. Canadians you keep out. This is Turkey. Here's the Dardanelles right there. Named after Darda, who founded Troy. Troy is, well, you've heard of the Battle of Troy. When they first left Egypt, they landed in Crete. And they founded all these cities in Crete that have Egyptian or Israelite names. But there's an explosion there. Something bad happened. We don't know exactly what it is. We suspect it might have something to do with the Exodus and the sky turning black for 3 days. Remember the darkness that was so thick? Well, there was a volcanic explosion down here that wiped out a lot of cities around the Aegean Sea. Because it says that Dardus came up to Dardanelle. This is the legend of Troad, with a crippled ship, a crippled fleet of ships because of some explosion. There's a volcano there that blew up. So here's the symbols from Troy. A serpent. This is a Trojan symbol, a serpent. It's a symbol of Dan. Darda is Dan. Troas. Now, these names that are being shown to you here are names of the descendants of the children. The legends that take place, and these become great legends, and we get great movies out of it. And I'm going to go a little bit faster now, because you guys kind of know the story of Troy and Helena. These are real people. These are Israelite people. And their morality happens. But this is stuff that you can search out and prove to yourself in your own encyclopedia. I love this movie. Because when I watch it, I knew who was who. And I knew who the names were and where they go. One of the names in this character, and this thing is called Perez. Perez. P-A-R-I-S. I don't know where he went. Come on, yes you do. Yeah. This war took place in 1194, 1184 BC, and that lines up with the chronology perfectly. I don't have to fudge stuff here. It just all fits. Achilles, he got shot in the heel. That's where that legend comes from. He killed Hectus. Hectus was the next king of Troy. But this war that they lost in Troy, and all the kings, there was 50 sons of this king, 50 sons who were princes to be king. And they all scattered and became kings in different areas all around the Aegean Sea. But they had this fascination with a horse. Dan and the horse. You go to Ireland, they got white horses sculpted in the hills right now. That's why they took this horse inside, because it's a symbol of something that means something to them. So here comes another little boring stuff. It's family tree history, and it leads you down, who to what happened, who. And there's some great stuff in here, and I love history. I just love it. But we're almost out of time. So I'm going to go real quick and see where I'm going to end up. I'm trying to get to halfway. I'm not even halfway yet. But you follow the name by name, and each of the kings of Europe are found here. But what's going to get down to is a king in Rome, who is a king of the line of Judah, has a prophecy about this child that's about to be born, and the guy didn't like the prophecy, so he killed the prophet. But the child was said that when he's born, he's going to kill his mother, and he's going to kill his father. That's pretty bad. When he was born, his mother died in childbirth. First part of the prophecy comes true. Later on, when he was practicing, his father showed him how to shoot a bow and arrow. He unfortunately killed his father with the arrow. That child was Brutus. Now, he's a descendant from the line of Judah. His name is Brutus. Brutus has so much history going for him, it's in your encyclopedia. But all these countries here are settled by kings of Judah from the Trojan line. Troy and the 50 kings are descendants from the line of Judah. We're still Judah right now. We haven't started talking about Zerah yet. Here's some of them. And this is the nicknames that became in Latin. Judah is also called Jupiter. Do we have a god called Jupiter somewhere in mythology? So some of your mythology that we hear has a basis of truth to it and gets perverted somewhere along the line. And that's why you should look at mythology and consider the facts and find out what's relevant and what's not and sort things out. Roma, guess who Roma is? Tamar. Well, I gave you the clue. I can't ask you questions, give you the answers. Roma is Tamar. So these are the nations right here. This is the boot of Italy. And if you search these names, this lineage is right there. From each generation, it's right there. You don't have to go far to find it. It's there. It's in our history books. Continuing down, here's another, so we're getting down to Silvis and Brito. And I'm trying to speed up, so there's so much history here. And Brutus, so now Geoffrey of Monmouth. Does anyone know who Geoffrey of Monmouth is? He's the 8th century historian in England. So this is 8th century history now. He records of Brutus coming to England. And Brutus picked up a bunch of Trojans in all these different countries along the way. And he comes to Paris, and he fights the French, and they drive him back out. And he comes back, and he lands in this place called Ludinium, or Light, or Luz. Luz, London, Ludinium. Now it's called London. Lundium, there we go, thank you. I'm skipping my notes, I'm trying to go a little quicker now because you guys are all looking a little peaked. London, he founds a place in London. In the center of London to this day is the Church of St. Paul, where Brutus founded and placed the stone. And it has this history in it that is so rich, and it's our history. And you check some of these places, and he landed in these places. My family tree comes from Devon and Somerset. And guess what? Yeshua lived in Somerset during those years that he's not in the Bible. How do I know? Because when you go to Somerset, and I got people that live in Somerset that read the newsletter and they tell me about it, there's a place there that talks about Yeshua and all the things he did. There's a little island down here called the Island of Wight. Guess who came there? Joseph of Arimathea, the uncle of Yeshua, uncle of Mary, the great uncle of Yeshua. So when Joseph died, the last known record of Yeshua, he's 12. When Joseph died, he took Yeshua with him and became his stepfather. And those boats that went around the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, it took 3.5 years, they took Yeshua with them. Their first stop was the Isle of Wight for lead. You need lead to make iron for the Roman army. Joseph of Arimathea was a proconsul for Rome. Proconsul for Rome. How could he go to Pilate and not get killed? Because he's a proconsul for Rome, which meant he's the most powerful man in Jerusalem. And he was also on the Sanhedrin. So he had these two things going for him. That's why he could go and claim the body, because he's both a relative, a proconsul, and on the Sanhedrin. But he took Yeshua here, and they have a song in the Isle of Wight, in the tin mines of Joseph. And they have a song about Yeshua. They have stained glass windows with a boy in a boat with Joseph of Arimathea coming to England. The boy, he's got red hair and a red beard and freckles. It's Yeshua. North American Indians got the same legend of a young man coming there to tell them about what's coming. I got calendars from Michigan describing the crucifixion of Yeshua, talking about him coming beforehand and telling what's going to come, and then pictures of a crucifixion afterwards that the Indians made in Michigan, just outside Sarnia. And the ruins are still there. Here's the St. Paul's. This is where Brutus' first capital was, in Londinium. Here's the stone inside there that describes these things and has all this history with it. And it's all right there, but people don't want to talk about it. So in the British libraries are all these old documents which have this history, and it's there. And these documents have been copied, and they're now online. You can read them. Okay, so I'm going a little bit quick, but prove this stuff. So then we come to the history. And you can take your history and genealogical, a direct line from King David down to the King and Queen of England this day. It's there. I can trace my family tree all the way back to Adam and Eve. I have to go by tribes for a few hundred years, but I can do it now. And I wasn't trying to figure all this stuff out to figure out who Israel was. I was just trying to find my family tree. This is the King of England who knew of his Trojan bloodline. It's one of the only kings of England that admitted it. So let's take a break now. Let's go and have lunch and let you guys go and think, is this guy nuts? Or is this stuff really real? And are we really the tribe of Joseph, of the 12 tribes of Israel, and also the ones that bear the name of Israel? Because that's what I'm telling you. So this afternoon, if you show up and come back, I hope you do. I'm still going to be here, and we're going to show you some more things, I hope. And I think it'll go faster because most of it is just pictures. Okay? Thank you.
Joseph F. Dumont explores every question about the sabbatical and jubilee years in Remembering the Sabbatical Year 2016. In order to understand the truth, you have to expose those things that are not true. What is left is then the facts. Remembering the Sabbatical Years examines all the theories put forward as to when the sabbatical years were, and then using your own Bible shows you how to be able to prove it for yourself. Once you do this, then you too can understand prophecy and in what season the Messiah is to come. Filled with groundbreaking insights, Remembering the Sabbatical Years of 2016 is both a source of wisdom and practical knowledge on an important yet complex subject and a necessary guidebook for prevailing through today's times. The creator of the universe has set upon his creation a construct of keeping time, and within that construct of keeping time, he has also given certain instructions. These markers of time have everything to do with prophecy as well, for they are the language by which boundaries are set and milestones are crossed. Prophecy affects every living human being on the planet, and so the reader becomes the main character in this book. We have, for all the world, an example of a people who kept and also did not keep the Sabbath years as instructed, and you will see what happened to them in each of these cases. You cannot afford to be ignorant of these things. The curses for not keeping the sabbatical years are happening now all around us, and they are getting worse. We are to wrestle with the Word to get the truth. Get your copy today and begin to understand world events today from a biblical understanding.
We're here listening to Joseph Dumont's teachings on the sabbatical years. So far, it's been very informative, and he really puts it in a good format that's pretty easy to understand.
His teaching has been unique, not like anything else that I've listened to.
Joseph has definitely been shown something that every believer needs to know.
You'll be amazed to see what he has come up with.
All the things that we have been just introduced to by Joseph has been an incredible thing, and there's so much research that he has done for us.
As I read his material, I thought, yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense.
And Joseph Dumont, I believe, does a really good job of going step by step and showing how there's cycles and they all seem to line up.
This is the answer, and it seems as though it's been hidden for many, many years.
We're getting so close to the end. He's the only one I've seen that's got the numbers that seem like they add up. They work with the sabbatical years and Jubilee cycle.
He's really waking some people up out here. It's really good for the younger people to get this message, because we are the future.
In general, I agree with the findings that Joseph has come up with. Don't take my word for it. Go and test it and try it for yourself.
Anyone who's ever taught Hebraic roots, whether they be in just churches, wherever they are, or in study groups or life groups, or in the media, or have written books, listen to this sabbatical and Jubilee year teaching by Joseph Dumont and get on board.
Sighted Moon. For articles, videos, and updates, visit sightedmoon.com.